Welcome to another episode of Marketing Matters with Christie Welch. Christie's going to be talking about marketing. Why does it matter? So stay tuned. Welcome back to another episode of Marketing Matters with Christie Welch. Christie is a direct marketing specialist with the Ohio State University Extension Program, and her office is located at the South Centers in Piketon, Ohio. Christie, it's always a pleasure talking with you.
Well, thank you, Patrick. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
And you have an interesting topic today, marketing. Why does it really matter? And so who are we specifically marketing this telecast to?
Well, it can really be relevant to any small business owner. My program tends to work a lot with food and farm entrepreneurs. But when it comes to marketing, it's part of every business. And so I think there are some nuggets that any small business could pull out today. So what we're talking about today, Patrick, is what does marketing have to do with it? And what I mean with it is running your small business and helping people understand if they're attracting and engaging the right customer for their farm, as well as sharing the right message with those potential customers. And so as we talk today, we'll talk a little bit about why marketing matters. We'll talk about knowing your customers. We're going to talk about how those customers seek information, give an example of a marketing fail, because regardless of your size, we all have marketing fails from time to time, and then just do a quick review of what we talk about today.
Are most farms selling to a lot of customers or just one customer?
That's a great question, Patrick. And most of the farms that I work with do local food production. And so they are usually selling directly either to the end consumer like you or me, or they're selling to local restaurants and grocery stores, those kinds of outlets. So it's a little bit different than taking a load of grain to an elevator where you drop it off and you go on. Really, with these local food producers, they need to develop that customer relationship to help their businesses be successful. Every interaction you have with a customer leaves an impression, whether that's good or bad. And so just in this example, I'm not sure this is the impression that this restaurant would like to leave with their customers. And so it's important to really think about every interaction or touch point you have with an existing customer or a potential customer leaves an impression. And so it's important for businesses to think about, again, is that a good impression or a bad impression? And so why marketing matters, again, is we want to make sure that we're accurately reflecting our brand. And we do that through a number of ways, whether that's the words we use, the graphics we use, whether we use our logo or not, how we talk about our products and services, all reflect your brand. If you have on-site store where your customers interact either with you or your employees, again, those interaction points will have a reflection on your brand. The other thing that I think a lot of times as small business owners we neglect is what action is it that we want our customers to take? And we'll talk a little bit more about that. We're going to talk about how we can generate loyalty and advocacy for your brand. And again, those touch points, it's not necessarily when they walk in and have a physical contact with you in your store, but those happen online and through social media. So we have to think about those as well. And then, of course, as small business owners, we have limited resources, whether it's time or money or both. With a small business owner, we wear many hats. And so trying to figure out ways that we can maximize the return on our investment of time and money to help generate the returns that we want to with our marketing. And then it's important to know where your customers are on that journey. And we are going to talk more about that as well. So again, one of the things I think that small businesses may forget sometimes, they treat every customer the same. And really, when you own a small business and operate a small business, you have customers that are in different places on their journey with you as a business. And so if you've got a customer that's been doing business with you for a number of times or multiple times, they're usually pretty loyal to your brand if you are serving them in a manner that is satisfactory to them. Some customers, however, though, are ones that might just be learning that you even exist. And so where they are on that journey will determine what information and message you want to share with those different types of customers. So if we take a look at this, what many people call the loyalty ladder, most of your customers start down here on this lower rung, where this particular example calls them suspects. And these are consumers that have potential to be your customers, but they have not yet done business with you. And so if you're just trying to get the word out that you have a business, raising awareness among people is really the first step that you need to take. And that's where you would do things like trying to get people to visit your website or follow you on social media websites, just so that they can become aware that you even exist. And of course, in today's day and age, if you don't have an effective online presence, you're pretty much invisible to your customers. And so it's really important to think about whether you're wanting to do an awareness campaign and get the word out that you exist, or whether you're targeting customers that are further up this ladder. So we go from suspects to prospects, and a prospect is somebody that hasn't done business with you yet, but they're seriously considering it. And so in this situation, you might want to put an action item in your messaging that helps them take that next step. Sign up for our e-newsletter and you'll get 10% off of your first order, or something like that, that incentivizes those customers to go ahead, or those prospects to become a customer by doing business with you. And then once they're a customer, what we want to try to do is move them on up the loyalty ladder to get them to become clients and then ultimately advocates. Now, truly, every single customer you have is not going to become an advocate for your business, but the advocates for your business are so valuable to you because they will market your business for you. So you want to pay special attention to those advocates and make sure that you're taking good care of them.
Maybe 40, 50 years ago, advertising and marketing were more simple, if you want to say that. Put an ad in a newspaper, you have a TV ad. It seems because of the internet that it becomes very complicated.
I would agree, Patrick, and that's really a great point. I think the other thing that contributes to it is the society is such about, I want it right now. If you put an ad in the newspaper years ago, it might run in one issue of a weekly paper, or you might have to wait for the Sunday edition or the weekend edition of that newspaper to come out. And so it has changed dramatically, and it is a challenge, again, with limited time and resources to manage all of this. And so that's why we're trying to help folks understand, if you know who your customer is that you're targeting, you can be more effective. And then if you know where they are on the customer journey, that you can be more effective with the resources and time that you have. And so, as we mentioned, where they are on the journey as a customer with your business. Again, if they don't know you exist, we need to have that awareness campaign. Hey, follow us on our social media platforms, or go visit our website and sign up to receive an e-newsletter or whatever that might be. Because really what we want to do is move our customers up that loyalty ladder. Again, when you get them to be advocates for your business, they'll market your business for you, and that can be very effective. So identifying your target customer and knowing where they are on that journey is another thing that can help you really target them with your messaging for your business. And so we want to figure out what we call psychographic information. And so those are things like, what does that particular person value? And of course, if you're in a local foods business, you want those customers that are very supportive of local foods, which I will say is pretty high right now. So that's to your advantage. But what are their interests? What's their lifestyle? What are their attitudes and opinions? And so all of those things can go into creating effective messaging for your customers to help them, again, interact with your business and move up that loyalty ladder. And so as you begin to identify your target customer based on your products and services, you want to actually develop a profile. What I mean by that is, what does your ideal customer look like? Now, I realize that businesses will have more than one customer type, but it's a good place to start with your most likely customer and build from there. Kind of goes back to that old 80-20 rule. And so some of the things that you want to think about with your ideal customer is, first of all, do they have sufficient income to purchase your products or services? If not, are there other things that you can incorporate into your business? So in local foods, we see a lot of businesses accepting the supplemental nutrition assistance program benefits or EBT cards or SNAP cards to help people purchase local foods. Do they have the ability to access your product? The other thing we have to remember, Patrick, when we're working on the internet, that it's a global environment. It's not at your local area. It can go anywhere on the globe. And so you don't want to spend all your time marketing your product or service to people that are hundreds of miles away or a country away or whatever it might be, if there's no way to get your product to them or for them to get your product. And so you need to keep that in mind as well. And then, of course, you need to have those customers understand and recognize the benefits of your product and how it will benefit them and their lives. And then the other thing, of course, that we talk about, do their values align with your business values? So again, when we're talking about food production and farming, many of our customers right now, as farmers, are very interested in maintaining the farmland that we have, our natural resources, including water and soil. And so making sure that you're telling the message about what you're doing on your farm to help customers understand the benefits that you're providing to your farm and environment.
Basically, everyone is not your customer.
I would agree with that, Patrick, that everyone is not your customer, and it might be for a variety of different reasons. It might be that financially they just can't afford your product or service, and that's fine. It could be that their lifestyle doesn't allow them to do business with you, even though they'd like to. So I work with farmers markets around the state and have for many years now. And farmers markets are really not that convenient for customers. They're usually held 1 or 2 days a week for a few hours a day. And so customers that shop at markets, at farmers markets, have to remember which day a week the market is and in those specific hours and make sure I get there before everything's sold out. And so if convenience is high on the list for a customer, they might love to come shop at the farmer's market, but they just don't have time. And so if we think about folks that are two members of the family are working to support the family, and then they have kids and they're chasing kids from sports to school to everywhere else, it could be that it's not that they don't want to do business with you. They just physically can't make that fit into their busy lifestyle. So it's a very good point, Patrick. So as you identify your target customer, in addition to those psychographic information that you find, you also want the demographic information, age, income, education level, whether or not they have kids. All those kinds of things can go into development of your customer profile. So here's just an example of how you might go through that. So you want to target with your business moms with kids that are not just kids, but pre-K through middle school. So a very definite age range for those kids. And what does this mom value? Kid-friendly environments and products, an educational environment, things that are healthy and easy to prepare meals, And if we look at the lifestyle of this busy mom, of course, she's very busy. She's interested in health. She has very little time for herself because she's taking care of the kids and probably working a job as well. And so how can you appeal to that particular customer to make sure that you are satisfying a need for this busy mom in her busy life? So the next thing we wanted to talk about briefly is to talk about how customers find information. And I know we touched on this briefly, Patrick, but if you don't have an effective online presence, basically you're invisible to your customers. But again, customers are different. And so one of the examples I give all the time, if I'm going after teenagers on social media, where am I going to be spending my efforts? It's probably not going to be Facebook or Instagram, which is where the older generations are at this point, but we might look at Snapchat or WhatsApp, Snapchat or WhatsApp or some of those other social media apps that teenagers tend to use more than those of us that are a little bit older. And so you have to think about that again. And also, as I mentioned, Patrick, every touch point you have with your customer leaves an impression. And so I had to include this because this image really made me chuckle. I'm not sure this is the image that this business wants to share about their business. So at first glance, that image is not at all what it actually is. So if you take a closer look, that image is two hands together like this, holding some soil and plants. And so I'm not sure if that's the exact image that that business would really want to be putting out there for their customers. Maybe it is. But the point being, really give some thought to those interactions and touch points you have with your customers. And of course, if you don't have a Google profile and you're not effectively on Google, you're probably missing your customers because Google's got over 92% market share when it comes to browsers. And so if nothing else, set up your Google profile and make sure that that is reflecting your brand the way that you want it to. 99,000 queries every second, which is just mind-boggling to me how many queries that Google processes on a daily basis. And then, of course, we've talked about being online. You have to make sure it's effective. And so what does your curb appeal look like when people are seeing you on a web page or a social media site? This is your curb appeal if they've never interacted with your business. And so this image on the left side of my screen is the world's worst website ever. And so people set this up as an example of what not to do because it's very confusing. They can't figure out really the name of the business. They're using all different kinds of fonts and images and all those kinds of things, where if we take a look at Jelly Toast, I just think they've done a really good job with their website. You can see it looks very similar on a desktop and an iPad or a tablet as well as a smartphone. And so thinking about, again, how your customers are accessing your online information comes into play as well. Patrick, there's so many platforms, software platforms out there for website creation now, that my suggestion is really to, first of all, just search it online yourself. Which websites do you see that you like, how they look, and then try to see what platform those were built on, and then talk to other business owners and find out what platforms they're using, because there are so many to choose from now. Some are free, some are paid. Do you want to be able to incorporate an online store for your business? That could determine which platform you choose as well. But again, all that goes into how your customers find information. And really your goal is to get those suspects to move up that ladder to become customers with your business, to ultimately move some of those customers up to become advocates. And so really those advocates will help market your business for you. One of the ways you can do that online, of course, is through reviews. And so I don't know about you, Patrick, but when I'm shopping online, I tend to read at least a couple of the reviews before I make a purchase with a business that I have not done business with before. Customers will also find you through their local community. So local community newsletters can be an awesome way to get your information out about your local food or farm business. I just thought this was a really cute sign and reflects the kind of the personality of this Castaways, which is an antique shop. It says unique finds, not your average dead people's stuff. And so again, that made me chuckle, which is kind of tongue in cheek, I think, for this antique store. So again, really depending on who your target customer is, and you should know that now from developing your customer profile, where they are going to find information about your business. And so think about, again, Google, social media, which social media platforms. Don't try to do them all. We're all limited in time and resources as small business owners, unless you have a full-time marketing person. Do 2 or 3 and do them well. At minimum, do Google. Create your Google profile, make sure it says what you want it to say and the images are what you want them to reflect. And then figure out where most of your customers are and do 1 or 2 social media platforms. It's more important to do 1 or 2 well than to do a whole bunch not very well at all. Community calendars, again, when we're talking about local foods, they're very community aware. So being a participant in your local community can really help connect you with those potential customers. And then keep in mind that customers, when they're online, one of the most important things they want to know is what we call NAP, which is name, address, and phone number of your business. So make sure that that is on your Google profile and other social media profiles as well. And then the other thing is, what action do you as a business want that customer to take? Again, are we trying to get them to take that first step of doing business with you and making some kind of a purchase? Can you do that through offering a one-time discount or signing them up to your newsletter? There are many different ways that you can encourage them to take that next step. Again, if you're new and just creating that awareness, you want to, on social media, direct customers to your website so they can learn more about your business there. And so again, when they're finding you, or are they finding you, are you appearing in searches like Google and social media and business review sites?
The older we get, we're not as in tune to all the different social media areas that we should be marketing in. And consequently, I really like the fact that you said choose a few and make them really well.
That's a great point, Patrick. I do see definite age groups spending their time on specific social media platforms, but really, regardless of which platforms you're using, if you can do 2 or 3 where your customers find information and do them well, you're going to have a much better result than if you try to do 8 or 10 different platforms and do them all poorly, just because there's a lack of time. And so it goes back to that target customer and where they get their information. So that's really a great point. The other thing I would say, Patrick, technology changes very quickly. And so what the popular social media platforms are today might be different as soon as tomorrow. We never know. So you do have to keep up on the changes in technology. So Patrick, we've covered a lot of information today. And I think, again, the takeaway for small business owners and local food producers is know where your customer is on their journey with your business. Know what message you want to put out there to those customers, whether they are potential customers or existing customers. Keep in mind that every time a customer interacts with your business, whether that be face-to-face or whether that be online, it leaves an impression on those customers. And so you really need to think about what impression that you want to send and how effectively you're doing that.
starting a business, you really need to have a really good understanding about the marketing techniques.
That's very
Before,
true, Patrick. And most of the time, people don't get into a business because they like doing all the administrative stuff, the record keeping and the marketing and all those kinds of things. But as small business owners, we wear many, many hats, and marketing is one of those. When I talk to folks, I usually encourage them to identify the market before they ever start their business. Where are you going to sell your product or service? That can go a long way. But it's also very important that you spend some time on marketing your business again and making sure that you have an effective interaction with your customers and potential customers.
hey, we're talking with Christie Welch. She's a direct marketing specialist with the Ohio State University South Centers, and she's located at the South Centers in Piketon, Ohio. If you have additional questions, thoughts, ideas, or if you would like to just discuss your marketing aspects. Christie, thank you.
Patrick, thank you. It's always a pleasure.